Welcome to Mac and Bleu, the cutting-edge podcast for the nation's builders, merging the realms of construction with exciting advancements in technology. Join us on a thrilling journey where we delve into the dynamic world of blockchain, AI, the metaverse, virtual and augmented reality, and their transformative impact on the industry. Our engaging discussions span a wide spectrum, covering not only construction, economic development, supply chain, and market segments, but also exploring the vibrant tapestry of diversity within the construction landscape. We shed light on the intersection of local politics and its profound influence on the construction sector, while championing the remarkable contributions of women and minorities in construction. For all things Mac and Bleu, head to www.macandbleu.com, and don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. I'm your host, JJ Levinsky. Now let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Mac and Bleu. I'm your host, JJ Levinsky, CEO and co-founder of Blue Wave. And today I'm lucky enough to have Matt Dircks on. Matt's the president and CEO of Dircks Moving Logistics. I think Matt and I were fortunate enough to meet another coincidence of being at a State 48 Foundation event, if I remember right.
Yeah, that's true.
And
yeah.
I know we have a lot of ties to the State 48 Foundation, but it brings together a lot of really good entrepreneurs and people in the community. Other than that, though, too, in this last year, Matt was recognized as being in the Phoenix Business Journal's 40 Under 40 class. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
He paid a little bit more to get on that list than the others, but no, it was cool. So I thought it appropriate to get him on and talk about their business, because when we had particularly when we had transitioned building Arizona, building the future on Mac and Blue, I don't think anyone realizes the complexity of what it takes to be in your business and understand how much moving, quote unquote, and kind of the quasi logistics it takes to get businesses, individuals, families, all the growth here in Arizona.
Right.
You got to get here and move around some way, and guys like you know how to do it. With that, welcome, Matt.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Start with just a little bit about you and the family business, definitely. The background, and you take as much time as you want on that, because after that we just get into the techno geeky stuff, because everyone always wants to know, like, hey, how'd you become an entrepreneur? Or, how'd you start the family business or whatever?
So I was born into the business. So I'm a fourth generation mover. Not a shaker, just a mover. Right, exactly. So my the family lineage of moving goes quite a bit far back. My great-grandfather was in moving. My grandfather was in moving. Then my father and uncle started Dircks Moving and Logistics, what turned into Dircks Moving and Logistics in 1990. So I was born elsewhere, but moved to Phoenix in 1990 to alongside my father and uncle. Funny story. My mom was employed, had a contract that she couldn't basically escape from that. So I moved to Phoenix and spent the first almost a year. It was me, my father, and my uncle living in a house. I was 6 years old.
Let's define the living conditions.
It was questionable.
You weren't probably not even old enough to know what a Swanson's TV dinner is. But.
I had a lot of those. I think I joked that we didn't have a dining room table. We had TV trays,
right?
And that was about it. But it was great. It was really fun. Had great times with that, and a lot of people are, that thought is that maybe helped us set up longer, as we grew the business. As I came into the business much later, our relationship was so strong. The first thought of family business is, we're battling all the time, and we have always had a time, and I was there. I've been there full time 12 years now. It was always a great working relationship. We may not see eye to eye, but we knew at the end of the day the solution at the end, and the best idea always wins. So to go back to that, so my father and uncle started the business in 1990. Bought a very small moving company here in Phoenix. They had both grown in the business, obviously, and wanted to do their own thing. So over the years, grew a little bit, and primarily our focus was moving families.
So it's purely residential?
Yes, pure, almost 98%, I would say, was residential.
Now, was it Dircks at the time, or you're saying they bought a different company?
It was a different company. company, but day one we turned it into
You
Dircks.
turned it into Dircks, right?
Yep,
Okay, got it.
was
Or they
Dircks.
did, your uncle and your dad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dircks Moving Services was
Oh.
the original name, and like I said, just move families, and that was really the focus for a lot of years, and it was a good growing business for a long time, but that diversification, and you have employees, you have trucks, you have warehouses. What else can we do? And the first step into that was the commercial moving business, and really saw how we could go B2B, help businesses move as Phoenix grew quite a bit, and that was another huge growth pattern for us.
So were you old enough during the recession of 08, 09 to, like, what did you guys do during those tough times?
It was tough. We
had you morphed into commercial before then?
We had morphed into commercial before then. We had actually one of the fun things about our business, as fun as moving and trucking can be, but my father and uncle were they're entrepreneurs. Okay, that entrepreneur spirit was always with them, and they looked for different ways to grow, and one of those was real estate.
Oh.
And at one time we held a real estate brokerage, and not a great time to start that is 2006, 2007. So it was a short run, but it also it opened our eyes to growing, to look at different lines of business, but then we don't know all, so bringing in other talented folks was a huge part of other growth as we did that. You think you know about real estate, you think you know about other lines of business, and you really don't.
Right.
We all have our focuses and our things that we're really good at. So one of our successes is bringing in other talented people and letting them help us grow quite a bit. So
what were some examples of that?
The next real growth pattern when we added this and logistics to the Dircks Moving name was, I think it was officially 2013, 2014, we got into logistics.
Okay.
And we had organically tried to grow that. We had warehouse space, and we thought, people need to store some stuff, right? It's as easy as that. And it was a trying time to get into that, and it took us 3, 4, 5 years to really be successful at that and grow by leaps and bounds into that business. But it was going and hiring really talented folks that knew that business, that was their specialty, and allow them, we give them the tools, and they helped us grow that.
So let's take a little time out and talk about that. During that time period in the logistics. So from what you described, Matt, it kind of seems like you morphed into, okay, now you guys have some assets, these warehouses, whatever, and the logistics seems like a common thing.
Right.
But for the audience sake, define, was it only local, or was it a lot of things coming in from way out of state that like a repository almost, or what? Was it more local? Was it more national? How did it look?
Logistics is such a unfortunate buzzword at this point. We've almost grown past that, where logistics just covers so many things. Because even to a move, there's logistics that go into that move.
True.
And I think even for us as a company, there's multiple lines of business that fall under logistics. But what we saw our specialty was with local crews, with local trucks, with what we call lift gate trucks, so we can deliver something anywhere. We had something that most didn't here in the market, and that was, I can receive your goods from wherever, off a container from overseas, locally receive something. It may be a big, bulky item, so it's not that quote-unquote square box. It's an oversized sofa or a machine that's going in a factory, that's very fragile. But we were open to taking all of that. We had the tools, we had the experience to do that and grow that, organically and successfully. So we were coming in with a solution that most people didn't have in the market, and I think to this day it's still a solution that most have, because we won't take the square items where some of our competitors, it has to fit in the box, right? So when I say, think outside the box or service outside the box, all the pun intended maybe there. But that's really been key to our success is, and allowed us to grow, is doing some of those things that others wouldn't. And that, on that logistics side, that's grown from, hey, let's receive a few things for a customer to thousands of pallets. as an example, we do a lot of hospitality work. So renovating a hotel, we will receive everything from the carpet pad to the alarm clock on a new hotel.
Oh,
Everything and all in between, and then get that to the hotel. And sometimes even install that as well. So that logistics, it's such a wide range, and we have grown along with it in that wide range, I would say, and kind of we want to be that all things to all people, and really focus on our customers, help them grow, and hey, you need help in this? Okay, how can we help you and add more service offerings as well?
Now, do you still do anything in the residential area?
Yes, we still do. That's still our it's at this point about 40% of our business still is moving still families. Okay. Yeah. We still have quite a bit of that.
And is it national or just local?
Yeah, we will do a move from down the street to across the country, and even internationally. We do a lot of international work as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so we have to go down this, because before we got on, we were over in the lounge. We were joking about this. So Matt, you have to tell some horror stories. Because the audience is dying to know.
Yeah.
And we were talking. Layla brought up the fact of how she hears about people losing. Like, how do you lose a whole semi-load full of your stuff?
Right.
So come on. Tell the audience some of the horror stories that go on in your industry.
It's unfortunate that I hear those stories so often.
And I'm not trying to stereotype your industry.
No.
Because we all have our problems.
Right, exactly. No, we get...
But for entertainment value, come on, let's share it.
That. Yeah. A lot of people say moving is one of the 3 most stressful things you'll do in your life.
Okay.
It's death, divorce, and moving.
In no particular order.
In no particular order, correct.
Kendall's over there laughing.
But we hear a lot of those horror stories of issues where somebody may have booked a move with somebody online, over the phone, something like that, not meeting these companies. There's a lot of brokers out there these days that I'm going to lowball you with a cost. I'm going to send you a contract that maybe doesn't have all the language in it, and I'm going to tell you, let's say it's $2,500 to move from Phoenix to Chicago, where I know in the business that's not going to happen. But a lot of customers might be doing it for the first time, or looking for the low cost option, and it gets time to maybe deliver in Chicago, and you get there and somebody has their hand open and they say it'll be another $5,000. We get that quite a bit.
The shakedown.
Yeah. The industry actually has something called Move Rescue to help folks like that quite a bit, where we will donate our time, our energy to try and assist some of these folks that have been taken by what we call rogue movers. Mm-hmm. But it's unfortunate. I heard that story today. I'll hear 1 or 2 more times this month from somebody else that could be locally, could be internationally. But there's a lot of folks out there positioning themselves as a legitimate mover, and they're not. An unfortunate thing about our industry is anybody truly could be a mover, especially in Phoenix. There's no true certification. There's no registry. I can go on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist today. I can show you 50 listings of folks that will book your move, and then they'll go rent a U-Haul, and then they'll come over and help you with that move. It's unfortunate because people aren't prepared. They don't have the right equipment. They're not safe. There's just so many things that can happen when it comes to that.
What are the unique things you see in the residential side? So, because here's the stereotype. The stereotype is, all right, I got a job transfer. Matt, move me from Phoenix to Vegas. Mm-hmm. That one's an easy one, right? But what are the unconventional ones?
The unconventional, the stuff we see is oversized goods. We've, as crazy as this sounds, we have shipped barrels of water from one location to another.
What?
Yes, I cannot, and one of the things
wasn't moonshine?
Yeah, right. One of the things about our industry is we bill by weight.
Oh.
So, we try
to make good money on that.
Explain to a customer, and then at the end of the day, you're going, I'll move that. Oversized goods that are just really, really hard to get in a truck, like a kayak or a canoe, as crazy as that sounds. But one of the things facing our industry is there's less truck drivers today.
Okay.
Over the past 10 years, we've seen this decline quite a bit with the aging workforce with the truck driver. Unfortunately, my generation, younger generation, doesn't want to sit behind a truck for 250 or 300
And they don't
days.
want to lift 300 pounds
They don't
either.
want to. They don't want to carry a couch, up or down a flight of stairs, and some of that. It's unfortunate. You can make a great living doing this, but it's one of those things we are battling as an industry, and now looking at different ways to service a customer.
Right.
So we still have that customer that wants to move from Phoenix to Vegas or Phoenix to Florida, wherever they're going.
Or conversely, everyone's moving here.
Yeah. Well, that too. Yeah. But how do we service it? How do we make sure that time they're getting their stuff at the appropriate time? Because one of the comments from earlier today was that it took 3 weeks to get from point A to point B. Unfortunately, there is not enough drivers today to load up at point A direct and drive it to point B. A lot of our shipments are still covered that way, but there's some things that there's this middle mile sometimes that needs to be covered by other drivers. So there's a delay in time of delivering people's goods as well.
So a couple things that come to mind, and I think hopefully my naivety here will actually help ask some good questions so you can, kind of educate everyone on your industry. First thing I thought of was ergonomics. So with the lack of people, what have you guys had to do differently as far as like the low bay or high bay to low bay to all, to truck gates, all those kind of things? What have you guys had to do to adjust to especially with these awkward sized things?
Right. Better equipment is number one. Using appropriate dollies, very expensive dollies,
not big slings and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can wear those. The proper way of lifting. We do a lot of training with our crews on how to lift things.
Okay.
As silly as that sounds,
No.
Prevents injuries. It really helps folks. Quite a bit. It can be not driving a truck as long. We've added safety measures where we have video of the front and the back of the truck, so inside the truck and outside the truck, to protect other folks, to protect our drivers, and to help with some of those safety measures. But we have a full-time safety manager that tours.
I can imagine.
Not only tours our 4 facilities, but spends time visiting with our drivers, with our crews, with our frontline staff, with our warehouse staff on just appropriate measures and things like that.
Another one would be, I can't imagine, and I think we're in a high-risk business of construction. I can't imagine what you deal with from an insurance perspective. So
that's a sore subject.
Well, I mean,
you're right, spot on. Yeah.
So what? Again, educate the audience. What? Forget just the work comp exposure that you guys have from, and I agree with the safety and the lifting and all those kind of things, but just the loss of. I can't imagine the amount of claims that happen of something doesn't get boxed right, and let's say you don't box it, but the homeowner does.
Right.
Is there indemnities in there and all that? Like, how does that all work?
There is, but truly at the end of the day, our philosophy, from day one was do the right thing.
Right. It's
kind of been always our thing. So things happen, breakage happens, damage happens, and it's how do we recover from that?
Got it.
We as I say, train our crews how to. I had a customer call me a couple weeks ago and say, everything in your move went great. Nothing was broken. We had tons of dishes. Nothing was broken. But can you do us a favor as we look at sustainability as a family to not use as much paper next time to wrap the dishes? And it's funny that I hear nothing was broken, and I hear and how great we did, and then the customer.
But go save the planet.
Yeah, exactly. Don't use as much paper to protect my goods. Yeah. So there's a fine line there, right? And we do our best to protect everything. We want the highest quality. I'm really excited. My team at the end of 2023 was named the highest quality agent in the Mayflower system.
Oh, wow.
Nationwide. First time in our company ever that we've gotten to those levels and have the highest quality. And this is quality that is judged on by our customers, not by our peers. So it truly means a lot. moving stuff across the country, things happen.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. We don't want it to. We provide what we call full value protection. So if something is broken, we're going to replace that item. But it's one of those things that comes with the industry, and probably why our industry gets a bad name, because there's some, unfortunate things that happen. And then we've seen as the years have gone by and more people have what I call disposable furniture, the IKEAs, the Wayfair, some of that stuff. That's not meant to move across the country. It really isn't.
I'm glad you said it instead of me.
Yeah, that wood screw, isn't going to really hold up.
The wood screw that's in nothing but particle board.
Right, exactly. And then we get to the other end, and somebody can't believe that $39 bookcase didn't make it from from Phoenix to 1,500 miles away on a truck.
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Blue Wave, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Blue Wave to get it done right the first time.
Another one that comes to mind is, not to bash society, but as a lazier society than we maybe were a few years ago, do you get hired to do more and more of the both ends, the packing and the unpacking, or is that even a revenue stream within your business?
It is.
Okay.
It is a revenue stream. Yeah, we do quite a bit of packing and unpacking.
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
Can't imagine it would
up
be.
A home.
Yeah.
But it truly is worth it, and it's one of those things that somebody does it once and they'll do it for the rest of their lives if they ever move again. On average, a 2,000 square foot home, I can come in there with 3 to 4 packers and do it in one day.
What?
How long do you think it would take you to do that, right?
2 weeks.
Exactly. Our crews come in, they pack professionally, they pack well, they pack quick, and they can be done in one day. Most of the reason of that is how often when you look at a drawer or you look at the back of your closet or something like that, you start flipping through those photo albums, you start looking at things.
And you guys don't care. It's like, just get in here.
Exactly. But it's efficient. We're good at what we do, and we can come in one day and pack up your house.
The only thing that's not efficient is the call rate. Because see, when we do it, the typical human, it's like, oh, I don't need that anymore. I don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
With you guys, it's like, oh, you're paying for it whether you want to or not.
Yeah, exactly. How many times folks are, you get to the other end and they're like, I should have thrown that away, or I'm going to throw that away now, and it's like.
Well, I know when we moved here 11 years ago from the Midwest, we had a unique situation where we had sold our house almost a year prior. So we had all of our crap in storage. Up in Minnesota, and out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
And I don't mind sharing with the audience. I figure I wasted about 10 grand in moving
on stuff
that I would have just sold or got rid of.
Yeah. It's true.
By the time you factor in hiring you, the storage on both ends, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So, all right, cool. Thanks for sharing that. So let's go back to the commercial move.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think everyone thinks, oh, I'm moving offices, my lease is up here, or I'm growing here and I need to move. That again is that's a typical one, right, Matt?
Yeah.
But what are you seeing more and more with your commercial base? What does that scope look like here in the Valley?
The scope has changed quite a bit. We've seen over the past 3-4 years a lot more what we call decommissions.
Oh.
As folks are maybe letting people work from home, we're going in and breaking stuff down and clearing things out for an office more than the past.
Right.
At the same time, we're doing things with some space planning and widening things out. We have a lot of companies that are coming to us and saying, I don't have as many folks in the office anymore, but I still do have folks in the office. How do we make it more comfortable for them? How do we give them more space, more privacy, some of that? I think the office space is interesting because it went to this open floor plan. Everybody wants to share everything. We would be sitting at a desk working 8 hours a day and quickly realize that people don't really want to do that. People want that privacy. They want
they
want to be able to work on their own. So we're in the commercial moving business. It's helped quite a bit because some of these larger corporations are changing their minds quite often, and it's a tough environment to recruit employees that want to work in the office. So you better have some.
So then, are you? So in that, what we call FF&E, furniture, fixture, and equipment. Yeah. Are you actually then in that as a business as well?
We are on the hospitality side. We do a lot of restaurants, a lot of hotels.
So describe to the audience, what would that look like as far as what you actually do then?
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. A very large resort here locally.
We won't mention names, but keep going.
No, I won't mention names. They did a complete renovation. Okay. And what that equates to is 1 million pounds of FF&E. From carpet pad to beds, nightstands, all of that.
You actually procure it all for them?
So we do not. We most often will work with the procurement team or a hospitality team. A lot of the hospitality companies are making it a one-stop shop for some of these hotel owners, where they can go seek out a company that can design, procure, and then we come in on the transportation side, on the front end, the warehousing, making sure it's captured, it's inventoried, look for damages.
I was going to say the claims.
Yep, the claims.
So instead of having 20 Connexes sitting in the parking lot, you're the one-stop shop.
Yep, exactly. Okay. And helping them out so those damages are found way at the front end.
Right.
And that hotel isn't stuck at the end with 2 or 3 rooms that they can't open. Time is money. So we will receive all the goods, Connexes, 40-footers, back to back to back to back, where I guess people don't realize that a hotel might be ordering, 1,800 nightstands for their hotel. So we're receiving all those, capturing images, inventorying them, and then as the installation side of it picks up, we'll deliver out by the floor or by how many rooms they do, and we'll deliver all the way to the end site and oftentimes place in the room as well.
What made me I'm curious if you've seen, now I realize I'm jumping from the hospitality space to the, as you're probably aware, and much of the audience, the build to rent market, the multifamily market. I don't know, this is kind of a question that I'm just poking a little bit at, would be, have you seen any increased demand with that build to rent or multifamily where that's already furnished?
We are seeing a lot more than that. It's interesting concept, and even maybe not fully furnished, but partially furnished.
So you are getting some of those demands or asks.
We are seeing that. There's a downtown build up going right now that we're involved with that it's like partially furnished, which I thought it's really interesting concept as I think about looking for my maybe apartment out of college or something like that. And it's.
I thought you were going to say when your wife kicks you out.
No, knock on this. Speaking.
If she's watching, don't call in.
But seeing that partially furnished where there might be a bed and 2 nightstands and a dining room table or a sofa or something like that. Yeah. But it's interesting where I thought for a long time we're going to get to this point where you rent your furniture. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that will happen or not. As I said, this disposable furniture is the cost is coming down so much on it that it's not this as big of an expense, I guess, as it was once. But I like the idea and the concept of the partially furnished too.
Yeah. You made me think. Okay, so we've covered residential, commercial. What about industrial move? Is there any of that going on?
There's these the biggest sector we're seeing right now with some of these big semiconductors coming in, and I don't think people realize not only the semiconductors themselves, but the suppliers that go into that. And
well, not only that, but it's 3 to 4 tiers deep.
Yeah.
So it's not only the we can go primary, secondary, tertiary. There's a couple more layers because those suppliers need their suppliers.
Right. There's already some transportation issues that I'm hearing from that. Getting the parts to site, local transportation, some of that. These are big, bulky pieces a lot of times. Some of them are climate controlled. Some of them what we call high cube, so it's a taller trailer. Some of that we're seeing more and more of that. But it's it's a big part of the business now, and it is growing day by day. I mean, the companies that are coming in, we're doing a full organizational move for a company from California to Arizona. That includes a warehouse, an office, and the residential side of it. So this entire company decided they want to relocate their business, and we're doing all facets of that for them. And I think that's going to happen more and more.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen and
the cost of California.
Yeah, right. And the industrial space and the buildings that are going up left and right. It's changing it quite a bit, and I think a lot of Phoenix companies are learning on the fly how to adapt to that and assist.
You were talking about the high cube and the climate control. Does that mean that, like, you as a family business, are you actively looking to? Are you going to rent or own your own climate control expansion to accommodate this? Or, like, how do you look at it from a business for yourself?
It's tough. The price of trailers is going up substantially,
right.
Along with, cars and all of that. What
all
comes along with it
yeah.
is the truck side of it. So not only the price of it, but finding it as well, some of that equipment. But it's a conversation I have with my team quite a bit as we expand, as we grow, as we look to offer more services to our current customers. When they come to us with an opportunity of, Matt, I'm looking for 3 to 4 trailers that are climate controlled. Can you help me? Can you seek it out? Can you find it? So we have a lot of partners. I think that's the first step is look to partner with somebody on
Makes
that.
sense.
More than just going out and buying those.
Right. The CapEx is high.
The
too
CapEx
high,
is extreme in that. And we have enough assets as is.
Yeah.
So trying to alleviate that expense, but still help a customer out, and be a place and a resource for a customer. And that's been my goal the whole time. Is I may not even be able to help you, but if I can be a resource to help you, that's going to go a long way with that customer.
This topic keeps coming up all the time on whether you're sitting here, just about every guest. You brought it up kind of just subconsciously, is that I don't think there's an industry that isn't seeing consolidation, whether it's mergers and acquisitions and all those kind of things. In your line of business, what is it pretty prevalent too?
It is.
Like, you talked about Mayflower before. Mm-hmm. I think, could you go back and just explain to the audience, like, how those big national companies, like, how does Dircks fit into that?
Right. So Dircks is so the Mayflower and United are actually owned by the same parent company. Okay. It's called Unigroup. Dircks is a shareholder of Unigroup.
Got it.
So we own
and then they give you region, right?
Exactly. So yep. So they do give us area, region, and a lot of time it's based on market share. Which is kind of an interesting way of going about it, but making sure that the folks out there, that there's enough service providers in that market. Oftentimes we're thought of as a franchise. We're really not. We own the brands, Mayflower and United. So it's a little different than most. But there's very few van lines that are doing that have the network to move people nationwide, and they're getting fewer and fewer. I think it's as much as we hear that folks are moving more. I think a lot of that. I think it got a lot of press with people moving in 2020, and actually leading up to it, and then after that, we've seen a decline. The household goods industry as a whole is down quite a bit, upwards of 25%. And that work from home obviously is a big chunk of that. We have what we call national accounts, or companies that we move folks around the country, and we've seen that business decline quite a bit. And Dircks as a whole, if I find somebody talented that lives in Florida and they're looking to make a move on their career side, but not their family, well, if they're the most talented person for the position, I'm going to make that work.
Right.
And I'm not the only company that's doing that.
No.
I think we're up to 11 or 12 remote employees that live across the country, where the best talent at the end of the day is what I want for my organization. I don't really, so as much as I want to move them physically as a moving company, I understand that for my company. I understand that for others as well. And I think that's the moving companies that haven't diversified at this point are in trouble. If they're just relying on, just moving families, it's going to be interesting. We've seen a lot more disruptors pop in. We've seen other methods of moving, just really, really pop in, where it's not the traditional truck pulls up in your house and drives it across the country. Now it's a box in your driveway that you load up yourself and take your time loading, and then it's dropped at the other end. So, there's a lot more options right now. Oddly enough, those aren't more cost effective. People think they are, but they're really not. But the options are there, and if there's more options, it spreads the market thinner.
No, that makes sense. Another one that I wrote down while you were talking was stuff. So when you were talking about the client that wanted you to recycle, I can't imagine. Okay, there's a couple questions here, so you're gonna have to slow your brain down. One is, how much stuff actually gets thrown away, claimed, tossed, all that kind of stuff, like repurposed. So what I was thinking of is, unfortunately, let's talk about some morbid things. Like estates, or like, hey, grandma dies in Arizona and we don't want to move all of her stuff back to Virginia.
Right.
Here it's in probate or whatever. I would think that would be one kind of move you do. And like, again, what happens to all that stuff? Do you just toss it in the landfill? Because, everyone's going to go, oh my God, we should repurpose it, right? So that's one. And then, like you said, the amount of recycling, either in boxes or fillers, or like, what challenges do you have on both fronts of that? Or maybe there's even another one I'm not identifying.
Yeah. So I think I'll expand on that a little bit. We do our best to donate goods as much as possible, whether it be Habitat for Humanity, St. Vincent de Paul, some of those organizations.
Like Stardust, those kind of places, maybe? Okay.
Yeah. Where that's, that's going to be repurposed and reused. We do quite a bit of that, and really do our best. The other side of that people don't really think about is the food. Food waste of your house.
Never thought about that.
Yeah, we're going to move your home across the country. You can't take that food. We partner with a national organization called Move for Hunger. Adam and his team they do great things.
That's national, right?
It's a national organization. They partner with, at this point, probably thousands of moving companies across the country, where we will go in, we will pack up that food, and we'll take it to a local food bank that
they determine if it's safe or not and all that kind of stuff. Right.
Exactly.
They toss the bad stuff. And
Okay. So that's one part of the home side that we try to, give back on the furniture, the goods, and the food as well. And then on the sustainability side from Dircks, we have a dumpster compactor that is just for recyclable goods. That is picked up bi-weekly at this point, where it's paper and cardboard. So that gets reused, repurposed. We also set aside used cartons for our customers. That's just a free service we do, where we give those cartons that are still usable. We set those aside and give those to customers on the household goods side. All the print, the packing material, like I explained to this customer, is recyclable, and it actually was recycled to make that. I think that helped them feel a little bit better. And then on the other side, the commercial side, is instead of boxes, when we move offices, commercial facilities, etc., we use what we call an e-crate, which is a plastic crate that can be reused. So we can, instead of that stack of boxes, we have a stack of crates. They sit on some wheels, like a 4-wheel dolly almost, and we can push them down the hall, onto the truck, down the elevator, wherever it needs to be.
Kind of mini intermodal when you think about it.
It really is. Yeah, they're little mini containers, and that's been a big advance for the industry. And customers obviously love that, where I can, we'll go in and do a move where there's 250 employees. I can give everybody their 1 or 2 boxes, kind of leave them at their office.
For
they
the
can pack
personal effects,
pack the personal effects themselves.
What about, how hard is it? Do you get exposed to a lot of the hazardous materials? And how do you deal with that crap?
We try not to.
I know, but it's unavoidable.
It is unavoidable a little bit. We stay away from hauling, interstate or intrastate within the state hazardous materials.
Because you have to get permits, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So we do our best to stay away from that. Before every move, our customers are given kind of a checklist of things you can and cannot move.
Right.
People love moving candles in July, which is just amazing to me. But unfortunately, some of those items can cause damage, cause fires, cause, unfortunate things, but all the cleaning supplies, and one of the ways I've worked every level at our business to learn it as well as I could. And I used to go into homes and sell moves to folks, and they'd have under the sink or in the laundry room a pile of stuff, and they would say, do I just like tape these shut, or with their Costco sized jugs?
No, mix them all together in a tub.
Exactly.
And let's see what happens in transit.
Let's not put
a det cord in here.
Truck with all of your other valuable items. So we go through and we check that. If we're packing a shipment, obviously we know what goes and what doesn't go. But a lot of times, customers, to save some money, will pack their own goods, and we have to explain to them, please don't put that in there. Please don't put that in there. Please don't put that in there. Still happens, but I think you only move a melted candle once.
Write that one down, because that was a good one. We only move a melted. That's hilarious. Hey, back to the family then. Is your uncle or your father still involved at all?
So I purchased the business January 1 of 2023.
Congrats.
Thank you.
No wonder you got featured in PBJ.
So
he's ousted his family.
Right.
Your dad's listening on some beach somewhere.
Thanks, the golf course. Definitely the golf course.
Okay, golf course.
Yeah. So my father is completely out of the business.
Yeah.
And then my uncle is still involved. He's kind of the face of the company in some sense. He's on a lot of boards, knows a lot of folks, and really enjoys being out in the market, talking to people, developing business, developing relationships. Really a valuable part of the organization. And then my father and uncle, we've created an advisory board, which has been really helpful for me as I've taken on that CEO role. Obviously, they have a lot of experience running a business, so when I can pick their brains is really great, and it's nice to have them just be a phone call away.
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Bleu Wave, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Bleu Wave to get it done right the first time.
So, getting back to how you were featured on Phoenix Business Journal's 40 Under 40 this year, you wouldn't have received those accolades had you not done some good things from an entrepreneurial and leadership perspective. So with that, if you don't mind humbly stating, like, what have you learned in that transition of, here's my dad and my uncle, and now it's my turn to be the head
Right. Yeah.
the head guy.
Yeah.
What have you been most passionate and proud about in that what would I say, evolution?
Okay. Passionate is culture for me.
Yeah.
I have always wanted employees to be excited to come to work, to be excited to do what they do, to be in a part of an organization that really cares. As I said earlier, do the right thing is huge to me. And one of the things that I personally talk to and our team preaches is that empathy. We're doing one of those stressful things and the service side of things for folks. But be empathetic of a customer that has somebody that they may have never met before pulling up in front of their home.
Touching all their stuff,
loading it on a truck and driving away with it.
Yeah.
That is an emotional aspect, an emotional thing for a lot of people. So the empathetic side of that is huge for us. But really just driving a culture of, we obviously want talented folks on our team, but we want folks that care, that want to do the right thing, that want to come into work, that are excited about our growth. We are very transparent as a company. I'm transparent as a leader of what we're doing, with whether it be numbers and finances, all the way to opportunities that we have as a company. That's really important to me. I think a lot of employees today, they want to know. The first thing everybody's going to think is, how does it affect me? Right? No matter what we do, how does it affect me? And our company, through this transition, we had let people know a year ahead of the transition of what was going to happen. We got in front of everybody. We, at our Christmas party of 2022, and said, at the end of the year, or 2021, I'm a year off. It's 2024 now too. But getting ahead of folks and letting them know what we were going to do as an organization, what that looked like, that things really weren't going to change, that I was excited to come on board. Because, as a company that's had leaders that have been there a while, with the consolidation of businesses, hey, what's going to happen to Dircks in the future?
Right.
And we were, as I said, very transparent, told people what was going to happen, what it looked like ahead of time. And that was really, I think that was great for not only me, it allowed me to step into it and ease the transition, and everybody be comfortable with me as the leader, and them as well, to know there was a future of the business.
And forgive me for asking, were there any, other than you, your uncle, or your dad, did your uncle have no kids in the business, and do you have any siblings in the business?
I'm an only child.
Well, that answered that question.
So that answers that question. Yeah. But Rick has 2 daughters. One works in nonprofit. One is a nurse, and they weren't really interested in the moving business.
Okay.
It's not the sexiest business, and I get that, but
you bring sexy to it.
There you go. That's what I'm there for. No,
maybe that's what we should title this. Matt brings sexy into moving.
Yeah. But no, it's just just me and the family, the family business. It's single guy there, running the show.
What go back to the leadership things, because a lot of the audience wants to know, like, they're always looking for nuggets of inspiration and things. So what have you done? What have you done in the community or in your groups or anything to draw those nuggets out? Like you were talking about your advisory board, but is there anything else you can think of back in over the last few years that you'd love to share with the audience, going, those nuggets that you took,
right?
Either through a mentoring type role, or like you and I meeting at the foundation stuff, where we're talking about entrepreneurship and things like that.
Yeah.
Anything to share in that capacity?
Company wise, a few years back, I talked about transparency, started a huddle. So we, company-wide, all hands, there's different names for it, but it was getting folks together once a month, the entire company, to talk about not only the previous month, but what's happening in the future, and some real nuts and bolts of the organization, to get everybody on the same page. And
was that you, or was that like facilitated, like almost like an organizational, like an EOS model or anything like that?
Right. It was more of a my father, uncle, and me getting together,
more genuine,
and really trying to connect with everybody, and trying to, you could talk about transparency all day long.
Until you prove it.
Exactly. Until you're really showing the numbers, talking about the wins and the losses too is huge. I'm a very positive person. I look at the positive side of things, but there's times where, hey, things aren't going that great. We need to talk about it, and it's a good way to improve on it. Personally, I really try to surround myself with as many, I don't like to use the term successful people, but people that want to better themselves. And that's huge for me, is to be around folks that are looking to grow a company or looking to do different things, whether it's a nonprofit or for-profit, but really being around people to learn from them, pick their brains, ask questions, have those conversations, like we did, at a State 48 event, and hearing. I really like hearing other people's wins and losses, and I talk to my team quite a bit on the best way to learn is to fail. Mm-hmm. And it truly, truly is. And the good ones don't do it very often. They learn from that and build on it and make themselves better.
It's funny you said that, because I think of, I don't do it all the time, because we're not perfect, but I love talking to our team about other people, like let's say you and I would meet in that environment where you can go back and share their wins and losses
Right.
as testimonials to your team, going,
Yeah.
you don't have to be perfect, but at least let's fail forward like these other people have.
And I'm lucky to be in an industry where folks are okay sharing best practices.
Right.
We're competitors, but we're also want to better each other. I have a really good network in the moving business of other young, hungry leaders that want to grow their business, but are also doing things the right way too. And that's been hugely successful to me, and probably the reason I'm here today is to see that there were other people like me in that business that wanted to grow, that were family, that were quote unquote born into moving. But it's really been helpful, and we learn and pick each other's brains all the time.
In the little time, Ken will let me know in the little time we have left. What are the challenges and opportunities that you have in your industry over the next few years?
I think the opportunities are really the growth of Arizona.
Okay.
It has, for a long time, my future, my growth plans were outside of Arizona. It was, how do we grow into other markets? How do we, take this business elsewhere? It's been fun to see Arizona grow. It's been fun to see, oddly enough, the opportunities almost come to us instead of us go seek out the opportunities in that sense, in the business sense. Offering more services, just in the past 3 months, we've offered 2 new services to our customers that we never have.
Can you share?
Yeah, we have a in-house brokerage authority now where we can book cars to ship cars for folks, as well as their freight. So it was something in the past.
In the past you subbed that out before?
Yeah,
referred it out?
We would go to a third party or we would refer it out. But how can we get to that one-stop shop mentality? And we're looking at a couple other service offerings that I can't share.
That's fine. We'll have you back on after you do that.
There you go. That I think would probably change the game here. In Arizona, would open up our customer base quite a bit, and really use technology to evolve that quite a bit. And that's a big part of what I want and bring is efficiencies and look to do the same things differently. That's really a big part of my focus.
No, I'm glad you mentioned it, because I don't think there's a person that sits in this podcast that anybody that's not relying on tech for efficiencies and value proposition, value add to their customer base, they've already lost it, right?
Right. Yeah. And moving's antiquated. It's been done the same way. The mode of transportation might be different, but we always loaded stuff up in the back of, whether it's from a horse and buggy to a truck, and moved it across the country. So bringing in some artificial intelligence, which we were really excited to do in the last 6 months or so, that's changed some things. It will change some things. And
I'm hoping for me to have some artificial intelligence, because I'm lacking plenty of the regular intelligence. Oh, well, thanks, Matt, for coming on. Really appreciate you sharing your business, your family success. And again, congrats to you in being recognized for an up-and-coming, leader, an established leader in our community. It's nice that you came on, and I look forward to running into you in the State 48 type stuff more often.
Great, appreciate it.
It's the event before, or the podcast before this, we were talking about how the 6 degrees of separation in Phoenix gets smaller and smaller and smaller, even though we keep growing and growing and growing. It is neat I always say it on this show that I feel like Phoenix still is America's smallest big town.
It really is.
Or biggest small town, either one.
Well said.
Yeah. And the connections here are just, they're just awesome. So thank you for being
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to the Mac and Bleu Show, brought to you by Blue Wave General Contracting. Be sure to subscribe to the Mac and Bleu podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Follow JJ Levensky on LinkedIn and Instagram. Tune in every Monday